Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another Playoff Best Ball show. Going to go into a playoff best ball scenario situation with Meg Shoup from Fanspeak. And then we've got a few teams that we think could be sleeper teams in these playoffs. I think it's wide open, and we're going to get into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching the Underdog Playoff Best Ball show. Going to go through the playoffs and look at all the matchups between the teams in the wildcard round and try to project a path to the Super Bowl for, the teams that we think are going to make it to the Super Bowl. And then we're going to take that information and do a best ball draft. And I'm joined today by Meg Shoup from Fanspeak. And Meg, what's going on? It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, always fun to join you, Simon. So I'm looking forward. This is fun. It's like futures betting meets best ball. So I'm excited to talk it all through with you.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite format of probably just about anything, even more than Showdown, which has been one of my favorite games to play over the past few years. But when they introduced playoff best ball, it kind of came out of nowhere and it instantly became my favorite format because I'm one of my favorite things to do is pick sides in the playoffs, and I think I got a really good feel for sides. And if you've watched my Showdown shows throughout the season, usually I'm pretty good at picking the sides, but where I've struggled, at least this year, a lot of the best matchups, or at least seemingly best matchups, didn't pan out, like as far as individual player matchups. But we still got the sides right on a lot of the game script shows this season. Ended up actually putting together a winning lineup on one of the shows that featured the Ravens versus the Steelers. So going to get another shot at the Ravens versus Steelers when we analyze these playoff games here. And before we dig into that, make sure to hit the like button. Looking for 30 likes to put out a shorter video later on. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm looking for about 1,600 subscribers by the end of the wildcard round. So I need about 90 left to get there. So I appreciate your help with that. And, make sure to check out Meg's site over at Fanspeak. And Meg, why don't you tell us a little bit about your site and, any thing that you want to talk about subscriptions or anything like that.
Yeah, thank you. So through the rest of the NFL season, we do have a sports betting subscription through Dub Club. You can check that out for a free week right on the homepage of fanspeak.com. Spread and Tyler's weekly picks are on for free on the homepage of fanspeak.com. And we will be soon. We had a ton of best ball content this summer on fanspeak.com and Fanspeak Network. So check us out there on YouTube, Fanspeak Network. And we had some success, a really successful best ball season. My brother and I both had, top 5 finishes, really good advance rates, finals appearances. It was a fun sweat. And so now we're going to bring that put that all together for a nice best ball subscription that'll launch here right when the big board launches, hopefully. So working out the details on that, but look for that as the big board launches this February.
Yeah, that's awesome. Meg's got one of the Meg and her brother get the best advance rates consistently year after year in best ball. It's always seems to be over like 25%, 27%.
Yeah, it's been 25 to 30% 2 years in a row here. And I had much less volume 3 years back, and it was right around there too. So yeah, we're going to keep churning that out, and hopefully people will join us along for the ride this summer.
Perfect. Yeah. And a perfect guest to have on a show like this, where we're going to dig into some playoff best ball. So, I think the first thing that we need to do when we are looking into launching a draft is to dig into the teams and the path that we think can make it to the Super Bowl and potentially end up winning the Super Bowl. But we're more interested in picking out the 2 teams that are going to make it to the Super Bowl and trying to draft as many of them as we can with our best ball lineups, while also keeping our upside by sprinkling in players and different variations of pods of different teams and stuff to keep ourselves alive why we're trying to make it to the Super Bowl. So let's take a look at the path here, Meg, and we'll break down these matchups and kind of talk about who we think could potentially upset teams and who we think would be the favorites to potentially win the Super Bowl. So we got this first game between the Broncos, and this is a game where I think Bills will win, but I think that the Broncos are live for an upset. I think they've been playing really well recently, and I think the Bills might have their guard down a little bit potentially, but the Broncos, I think, are a better coached team as well. I like Peyton better than McDermott. I think with his experience in the playoffs, obviously winning a Super Bowl and consistently making it to the championship game with Drew Brees in the past. Now he's got Bo Nix, who had a really great season this year. He is a rookie though, and that could be the downfall of a potential upset here. But what do you think of this game, Meg, and which direction are you going here?
Yeah, I think you make a great point about the coaching edge. I think definitely goes to the Broncos, and I think that while Bo Nix has impressed me, I think they've absolutely exceeded expectations this year. With that said, I do still like the Bills to move on here. It might be closer than people think potentially, and I do think Broncos could potentially punch back and put up points if you want to just get some first round points. But I do think the Bills move on here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's ultimately how it pans out. But I do think that the Broncos have a chance in this one. So if you're looking to draft late in these drafts and you're struggling to, maybe one of your pods got broken up or you got sniped on some players, don't be afraid to draft, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, and Marvin Mims towards the end of these drafts, because I think that they're live to potentially upset the Bills, and there's not going to be many people on those stacks.
Right.
For the Ravens Steelers, this is another one where I could see a potential upset with the Ravens and Steelers being in the same division. All the talk is how they're like 9.5 point favorites, the Ravens over the Steelers in this one. But the Steelers have basically owned the Ravens. I think the Steelers are 4-2 over the Ravens with Lamar Jackson as a starter. And the game that the Ravens beat the Steelers in this season, they didn't have George Pickens. So this was also the game that I broke down on my showdown slate and ended up building the winning lineup on the show. And in that particular game, I would have been more on the Steelers, but without Pickens, it just seemed pretty bleak for the Steelers. They just didn't have enough firepower to make it, like a real game against the Ravens. But now with Pickens healthy, Pickens has been, just a head case all season. But I do think that he rebounds in this game potentially. Seems like those games where he gets the most crap for underperforming or whatever are the games where he bounces back like the next game. But what do you think about this game, Meg?
Yeah, I think you made a great point about the Steelers have kind of always had Ravens number. They were without Pickens last time. It has been bad, like very bleak, as you said, these last, 4 or 5 weeks. It's been really rough to watch the Steelers. I didn't understand why they didn't attack the Bengals through the air more. We've seen all season the Bengals get destroyed, in the passing game. And for some reason they were, Arthur Smith, shocker, was stubborn about the running game. And so I thought that was just really wild that they didn't have the foot on the gas and really, utilize the passing game more until the end. And frustrating to watch, just to, watch a fun game, because it ended up, just sputtering out at the end. But yeah, I think they're a live underdog. I think it's more likely that the Ravens will win, and I've been drafting more Ravens. But if you want to take shots late in the draft, you're getting them in the last round for George Pickens, essentially. So I probably wouldn't overstack the Steelers, but I think there could be some potential upside in week 1 with the Steelers, whether they win or lose. But I do think they could be live, because that's the weird thing about divisional matchups. And you talked about how this was a rough draw for the Ravens. yeah, divisional matchups are tough. So, and this appears to be, the only one in Wildcard weekend. And yeah, it would not shock me if the Steelers pulled off an upset.
Yeah, one thing to pay attention to too is Zay Flowers' status. He was not practicing today. It's looking like he's probably going to be out for wild card weekend, and maybe you get him back in divisional round. But keep that in mind with Zay Flowers. He's dropped probably about 10 spots in ADP. He's going around like a 20 or so. Rashad Bateman doing the opposite of that. He's been climbing. But I think one of the guys who's going to have the biggest advantage with Zay Flowers out is going to be Isaiah Likely. In that game that I analyzed, where I had Isaiah Likely as the captain, I had him in the captain because Nelson Aguilar was out in that game, and that was going to open up the door for more 2 tight end sets, and it's going to open up the door for Isaiah Likely running more routes out of the slot. And that's why I liked him in that game. And in this game, Zay Flowers runs about 38% of his routes in the slot. So that's going to open up big time for Isaiah Likely to have, 1 to potentially 2 big games in these playoffs. And it's going to be without, Flowers in the lineup, but he's also going super cheap. He's going towards the end of drafts too. So Likely is going to be a dark horse, I think, as far as guys we can get late in the draft that are going to be significant for a good portion of these playoffs.
Yeah, that's a great point. And like you said, it panned out massively for you because that's what you're doing in Showdown, and you could get paid off for it when you're nailing the game script as you named it. And that was an awesome call. And I could see, like you said, Likely being way more involved in this game.
Yeah, for sure. So next we got the Chargers versus the Texans. It's a number 5 versus number 4. The Chargers, I believe, are the favorites in this game. So we got a home dog situation, but the Texans are, their offense is just so depleted at this point. The Chargers are one of the top teams at sacking quarterbacks, and meanwhile the Texans are allowing, I believe, like the most or one of the most amounts of sacks in the league. So it's going to be a tough matchup for CJ Stroud and the Texans. And if we get a Chargers win here, then we get another potentially divisional matchup between the Chargers and the Chiefs in round 2. By the way, if the Broncos are able to pull off that upset, we would get a divisional matchup there too. So if the Broncos or the Chargers win their games, we're going to see a divisional matchup against the Chiefs, which Meg and I are hoping for because it would give the potential to get those Chiefs out early. But Meg, what are you thinking here on the Chargers versus the Texans?
I just absolutely love the Chargers in this matchup. You pointed out that a lot of the reasons. I think, Justin Herbert under Jim Harbaugh has looked amazing this year. Obviously rookie lad McConkey, Dobbins now back. I'm definitely in on the Chargers to maybe be a sneaky dark horse in the AFC, but certainly in this matchup, I like them to win on the road.
Yeah, I like them too. So that gives us matchups of the Chargers, Chiefs, and the Ravens, Bills. Now, one thing that I've noticed with the AFC seems a lot more straightforward than the NFC, Meg, as far as this wild card round. The NFC, I feel like it's wide open, and this is why I like this season versus last season. Last season, it seemed like the 49ers were going to be almost. It was too easy to predict the Chiefs versus the 49ers last year. And this year, it feels like the NFC, with it being wide open, like you're not going to be pigeonholed into, like drafting a bunch of bye week players in like the wild card round. You can draft just about any one of these NFC teams, take a stand on any one of these NFC teams, and you could be right because it's going to be wide open. It's going to be shootouts as well in the NFC, like throughout the entire playoffs, because all these teams have pretty much high-powered offenses, and maybe the defenses aren't as good. But what are your thoughts in general on the NFC And what do you think on this first game between the Eagles and the Packers here, Meg?
Yeah, as an Eagles fan yourself, are you any concerns about Hurts? Did he get practice today?
Yeah,
You mentioned.
he practiced today. So basically, with the concussion protocol, they need to put in a full practice, and then how they feel the next morning is going to determine if they pass the concussion protocol. So I
Okay.
believe, yeah, he put in a full practice today, and we'll see tomorrow morning if he passes protocol. But I think it was more of a like a rest situation with
Just
Hurts.
needed to get the practice in first.
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think we saw this game week one. We also saw the game after that in week one, but we saw this game week one, and it gave us, as you said, a ton of points in Brazil. And so I think that's a lot of fun. I'm hoping we get just as a fan perspective, another fun game in this one. I do like the Eagles in this one to move on at home. Obviously, Green Bay played them incredibly close. It was an incredibly close, high-scoring game in Brazil. So, I mean, I think Green Bay can certainly punch back, but I am going to be kind of boring, I think, on this wild card NFC side, and I do like the Eagles here.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Eagles here too. I just think Saquon Barkley's got a really good matchup, and then on top of that, the Packers just lost Christian Watson, so
Yeah.
out with that ACL, so they don't have their field stretcher in this one, and the Eagles defense has just been on fire all season. So the Eagles are a complete team. I think that the Eagles are probably my favorite team to make it to the Super Bowl on the NFC side. Although like I'm not going all in on them. I'd rather get a good exposure to several of these teams because I think, like I said, I think it's just wide open on who could potentially make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I personally do like the Lions. We'll get to them obviously in the next round, but I think all these teams, NFC, as we saw, was kind of it's always these last few years. Oh, well, there's just like three good teams in the NFC, and the AFC has the powerhouses. This year, it feels like all the NFC teams are really, really strong. Like I think certainly much stronger than the Texans and probably even Broncos, I'd say. So and
Yeah.
Steelers. So yeah, I think all seven of these NFC teams are better than definitely at least three of the AFC teams. And you could probably make a case for maybe four. So yeah, I think that is interesting in itself, which I think, like you said, makes it just a more competitive, high scoring environment on the NFC side.
Yeah, for sure. And like with this next game too, we got the Commanders at the 6th seed versus the Bucks at the 3 seed, but like this could easily be reversed. Like the Commanders could just as easily be the 3 seed and the Bucks the 6th seed in a different parallel universe or whatever. These teams are just all, I feel, really strong, and we saw with the Commanders their defense improving throughout the year. On top of Jaden Daniels just being like a hero in like so many of these games. And Meg, as a Commanders fan, I think you're pretty set up for the next few years with this guy.
Yeah, hopefully. No, that Washington fan been through obviously a rough road here, and no, hopefully we have a exciting quarterback of the future. And he's he seems to very mature. He played a ton of games in college because of obviously the different rules during the COVID years. He played a lot more. Same with Bo Nix, and I think that we're seeing that benefit these guys coming into the NFL, just playing so many more college games than say and Anthony Richardson, who barely played college games, and we see how that panned out. Not so great. So, no, it's very exciting for Jaden Daniels. And obviously he does a lot with his legs here. He did not do a lot in the air against this Tampa Bay team. Of course, this was week 1 as well, but definitely got a lot on the ground. So I think that's going to obviously, certainly be that'll be fresh in Tampa's minds because I believe he had 2 rushing touchdowns, a ton of yards on the ground in that first matchup. So I will say, I think the Washington defense has improved. Their run defense is still pretty bad. So I do like Bucky Irving in this spot. I mean, I honestly still like Tampa's offense all around in this spot, but I do like Bucky Irving now emerging as their like full running back one in the spot. So, I mean, I do think Washington is live here. As a fan, of course, want to say that, but it's still a rookie quarterback. I still think Tampa is the overall better team. So I think it's more likely than not Tampa moves on, and honestly could be even a threat in the next round. But yeah, I mean, I think Washington can make this exciting, and to your original point, make this certainly a high scoring game.
I think like a lot of the matchup between Evans and Lattimore potentially is. Do you know what Lattimore's status is currently?
No, I need to check that to see if there's any updates on him, because that would be amazing to have a Mike Evans uh, Lattimore status. It says an insider has a bullish update on his playoff status. And he did practice in full, it looks like. So yeah, he fully practiced. So yeah, it looks like we might be getting a Mike Evans Lattimore. That's great.
That's not good for my my Evans shares, because I'm like, Evans is my highest owned wide receiver. I started drafting before they had that that matchup. I was expecting them to have the number 4 seed, and when they got the 3 seed and they moved in against Washington, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together with Lattimore until like I heard about it. Someone mentioned it the other day, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he's still slow from recovering from that whatever injury he had, because I need
think
Evans
it's
to have
a
a
hamstring or something. So yeah, it's definitely I believe a soft tissue that's kind of been nagging. So
Right.
maybe he won't be a full go, but he did practice. So it looks like we'll get the matchup.
If you're not familiar with the history between these two, it's like Evans never has good games against the Saints because of Marshawn Lattimore. And if anything, if Lattimore's still hurt, maybe he goads like Evans into like punching him or something like that and getting kicked out of the game. Like there's no love lost between these guys, and it's always a brutal situation for Evans. He never wins this matchup. So
yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah. So that's not a good sign for my my Bucks shares, but I have a lot of exposure to the Bucks, and I need them to win this one. But
I do as well. Full disclosure, I do as well,
Okay.
both before and even after the matchup. I still think it's more likely than not, as even of course a Washington fan rooting for Washington, but I think it's more likely than not Bucks move on.
Okay. So, we got another favorite there, but just another game that could go either way. For the final game, we got Minnesota versus the Rams, and Rams have been playing really well recently. There was like a thing with like Stafford when he's got Nakua, Kupp, and Kyron all healthy. He's been one of the top like 3 or 4 fantasy quarterbacks from a point per game perspective. And, these guys have all been healthy for the last few weeks. And, we could potentially see the Rams have a resurgence here because their defense hasn't been playing poorly either. And then they're playing against Sam Darnold at the end of the day. Like Meg, by the way, shout out to Meg, because she called this before the season started. She was talking up Sam Darnold on my show. I was like, oh, Jesus, Sam Darnold.
I forgot about that. We talked about this summer together. Yeah.
Yeah, you were on Sam Darnold, and ended up panning out, and part of the reason why Meg has a 27% advance rate, and I had like I don't even want to like think about what I had. It was horrible. But yeah, so the situation with the Vikings versus the Rams, they played each other earlier in the season. The Rams were able to get a decent amount of pressure on Darnold, and they ended up winning that game, and Darnold just did not. I think they won that game, right, Mac?
Yeah, that was the one at the end. There was like a face mask on Darnold that wasn't called in the end zone.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to pull up the box score in that, but so definitely a little controversial. Yeah, it ended up 20-30, but they were driving at the end, and there was an uncalled face mask that kind of, I know, stalled me, certainly hitting a parlay I liked. I remember that. I was like, I need this drive to keep going, and it did not. He still threw for, I've just looked it up, 240 and 2 touchdowns that game. Only 25 attempts, 18 of 25. So he did still have a little success in the air that game, but yeah, they got more pressure, and he is definitely more sensitive to pressure.
Yeah, and on the other side, Matthew Stafford was an ace against that blitz. That Minnesota likes to throw at their opponents. Like, it didn't phase Matthew Stafford at all, and I think he threw more touchdowns under pressure in that game than he did otherwise. So
he threw 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I just looked it up.
Yeah. So I mean, like with this one playing in LA, Meg, which way are you leaning in this game?
Well, I'm kind of boring because I'm going kind of with like the betting market of, kind of picking the favorites. But I know a lot of people are picking the Rams this week as far as the pick. I personally still think the Vikings can bounce back from that horrible loss against Detroit. They looked awful on Sunday night when the division was on the line. But I mean, it's one game, and yeah, they have to go on the road now. And sure, they could be like what the Steelers have been and just fall apart here, or maybe they bounce back and play how they played this season. They're a 14 win team, so I don't know. I'm kind of leaning into they were a 14 win team. They were playing for a bye. If we take that game last Sunday night out of our heads, I think if this game replayed from earlier in the season, I kind of like the Vikings here. Again, I could see it going either way. I know a lot of sharp people on the Rams, and I absolutely could see it going that way, but I'm playing it like the Vikings move on. I have definitely taken some Sam Darnold in best ball, even playing out that they could potentially make a run. As you said, like more NFC teams are live, I think, than the AFC teams. And, I even played it out that way. So I definitely think they could get by the Rams here.
Right on. Yeah. And the Rams were a team that I was talking up, since I started doing these playoff best ball shows, and got them in the playoffs. We had there was still up in the air who was going to win that NFC West division, like with Seattle still as contenders and everything. But I was drafting the Rams heavily throughout, and fortunately they made it to the playoffs. They get this draw against Minnesota, and I think it could go either way. I like the Rams in this one, but we'll go with Minnesota in this one, and take us to the next round. So we got another rematch. It would be between Minnesota and Detroit, and then we would have Tampa versus the Eagles. So in this one, let's go to the AFC first. We got the Chargers versus the Chiefs. They'd be division rivals. Chiefs beat them twice. I'm pretty sure that one of those games must have been like fluky, like half of the Chiefs wins this season.
Yeah.
Meg, I made 2 futures bets after the first couple weeks of the season. When I saw how the Chiefs were playing, I saw how the Chargers and the Broncos were playing. I bet on the Chargers to win the division. I bet on the Broncos to win the division, and both teams were like plus 1,400, something like that.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs, every time they got one of those fluky wins, it would just like drive me nuts, because my teams were panning out. They were playing really well, but the Chiefs ended up getting like these garbage wins, and they just kept doing it. And I would like nothing more than for the Chargers to come in here and eliminate them in the second round. But what do you think about this game and the divisional rivalry potential?
Well, you and I are in lockstep about our feelings about the Chiefs. I am just over it. I was like that, honestly. I'm a big fan of Brady, like, overall of his career, but like when it was going on, I was like, oh, the Patriots again, like I definitely get a little fatigued with that, and definitely not interested in seeing a potential three-peat. So nothing would make me happier than seeing the Chargers win here either. I felt the same way throughout the season, that they felt fraudulent, all these wins against the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers, so many of the divisional ones. So I think your bets were very sharp and live. I actually made the same one with the Chargers only at one point when there was like, 20-1 or something like that. I was like, it can happen here. And it did not, but there were down the road, down the end there were certainly, I mean, they almost lost to the Raiders on Black Friday. There were so many games that they, as you said, should have lost. One score games, but we're talking one play games that, one play goes, a swinging door the other way and they lose. So
literally
that was
the last plays of the game.
Yeah, last plays of the game, a holding not called, or a penalty called, penalty not called, a drop here, a miss here, the block kick against Denver. It's ridiculous. It felt fraudulent. It feels like you just cannot keep that up that long. I listen, I know we're talking about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on a bye and all the things, but I wonder, I mean, the Chiefs won't have played for like 3 weeks or something. Mm-hmm. Wonder, if they do come out a little stale. I think Chargers could certainly take advantage of that, and I hope they do. And it's hard to beat a team 3 times, a good team 3 times, and so I won't probably apply the same logic on the other side, but I do think it is really hard to beat a team 3 times. So I'm drafting with the Chargers could actually make a run to the AFC Championship.
Meg, one of those fluky wins that the Chiefs got was the end of regulation, the Bucks versus the Chiefs. The Bucks made that comeback towards the end of the game. They ended up getting the touchdown. They were down by 1 point. They had a chance to go for it on 2 and just end the game right there. I was winning 118K in showdown in that game.
No.
And instead of going for 2, they put it into overtime. I held that 118K all the way through to the very last play of overtime, and Kareem Hunt scored that touchdown. I went from 118K to $400. So
oh
another
my God,
reason,
I didn't know how far this was going to fall, but that is brutal.
So freaking bad. Like, and so I would love to see the Chargers just get rid of this team, but
I couldn't agree with you more. I did not know that story. Oh my gosh, Simon, that's
so
insane.
Bad. So bad. I had 118K from the end of the third quarter. I was so far ahead. I had it from the end of the third quarter all the way to the very last play of overtime. And that touchdown just destroyed like my hopes and dreams. So
that's awful. Yeah.
But
who'd you have in your captain that night? Was it Auden or
no? I had Hopkins. I had Hopkins.
Oh, Hopkins on the that's right. Okay.
My differentiator in that game was I had Samaje Perine, and he ended up scoring that touchdown, and he was 2% owned. He scored a touchdown, and it put me up. I was in first place with a significant lead. There was only like I think one other team that was sharing it with me, and we had it. Just nobody else had Perine, and we had probably like a 5-point lead when that happened. Lasted until the it was getting shaky there for a while because some guys had. What's his face? Sterling Shepard, and Sterling Shepard kept getting PPR points in that last drive. And then they scored that freaking touchdown. And the guy that scored the touchdown was actually a $200 guy that I recommended on the show. I just didn't have him on that lineup. And so he scored the touchdown, and that put Spread's team though. After Kareem Hunt scored that touchdown, that put Spread's team in first place. So there was a happy, ending for the show, because me and Spread broke down the show together in that.
That's right. Game. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So it shifted to Spread. So at least Spread won some money off of that one. But
so he finished in first in that one?
Yeah, he finished in first. Like that Kareem Hunt touchdown like knocked me out of first, and it knocked Spread into first. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was a different Spread was in a different contest. It was in the $3 contest. So he ended up winning that $3 contest.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Yep. Not awesome for you, but that is the wild swings of showdown. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was happy for Spread. Like all the times he's been on my show, I'm glad he was able to ship that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who do we think here? Do you I know we want the Chargers to win. I happen to think that the Chiefs are going to make it to the Super Bowl. But,
okay. Well, then if you want to play at that, then we should play what you think is going to. I mean, I do think the Chargers are live. I know we've said that with a lot of underdogs, but I do think they are live to beat them here. But no, we can certainly play that because that affects.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. I think like out of the AFC and the NFC, I think the Chiefs to me have the easiest path to the Super Bowl. And the thing that with the Chiefs is early in the season, they didn't have a lot of weapons. They were missing Rashee Rice from obviously getting hurt. Hollywood Brown was hurt before the season even started. So they were just playing with no weapons throughout the season. Then they picked up Hopkins, and now Hollywood is back, and Worthy started picking up steam towards the mid to end of the season. So now they got 3 legit weapons. And my premise on before the season started, drafting a ton of Chiefs in best ball, was that Patrick Mahomes finally had weapons who could stretch the field back when he did with Tyreek, and now he's got Worthy, he's got Hollywood, and he's got Hopkins. So he's got and on top of Kelsey, so he's got a whole bunch of weapons now in the passing game. The run game, Pacheco was horrible when he returned from his injury, and Hunt is old. So they don't really have a running game to speak of at this point, unless they, unless Pacheco comes around in these playoffs. But like right now, they have a passing game that I think will be firing on all cylinders throughout the playoffs, and it's going to make them a much more dangerous team than they were during the regular season.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's been one of the reasons I felt comfortable kind of fading them a little bit in playoff best ball, is because not only, even in their wins this season, I totally agree with you that they're going to have to lean on the passing game, and probably even more so than last year, because last year they really just leaned on their defense. Their defense was even better last year than this year. So they're going to have to lean on the passing game here. And we know Mahomes can certainly play hero ball, but from a fantasy perspective, they were awful this year. As you said, there was just kind of a very muted all season, but they did show life, in the passing game the last couple of weeks. So that's another reason I've kind of faded them, is making that stand. Well, if they don't come out firing, if they do go down early, but also, from a fantasy perspective, you weren't getting a ton of points. Like, it wasn't like the Lions on the other side, where it's like they were just a juggernaut, offensively. So that'll be super interesting to see again on 21 days rest, what Chiefs we get here. And are they the playoff Chiefs, the postseason Chiefs, or is it kind of the Chiefs offense that we saw this year, which was boring?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think we see a different Chiefs in the playoffs, and it's going to carry them.
We always do. Yeah,
exactly. And I think like Kelsey will come alive, and on top of all those weapons that they have now, it's not like last year where we're looking at like McCole Hardman and Sky Moore and all these scrubs. Like now they got like actual real weapons, and I just think that they're going to be too dangerous.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So we got Baltimore versus Buffalo in the second game. We got two guys that choke in the big games with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and they're facing off against each other in this game. I give the edge to Josh Allen personally. I think the Bills will advance to that conference championships. But what are your thoughts here, Meg? Do you have a preference?
Boy, this one is so hard, because I think, both offenses have been, juggernauts this season, and firing kind of the opposite, offensively, as far as from like a fantasy perspective, and offensively to watch. Obviously, these were two of the best offenses to, going against each other here. Ravens defense has played better of late. I'm with you. I kind of lean Josh Allen here, especially Josh Allen at home. You make a great point. Both have kind of had their opportunities this last few years and kind of choked, solid, amazing opportunities to make it to the Super Bowl. So this one is really, really hard for me to project. I could absolutely see this as a coin flip, and I've been drafting, when you get the one pick, I'll draft an Allen team and just play it like Bills are going to the Super Bowl. When I get the second pick, same. You play it like Ravens are going to the Super Bowl, and just play it like that. And that's how I've been playing it, because as far as like projecting this, it's a coin flip for me. But I'm with you. If I am forced to choose, I'll take Josh Allen here.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I think over here on the NFC side, like I said, like we've picked largely the favorites, but these really are just like, to me, like most of these NFC games are coin flips. It's just kind of personal preference which way you lean. But when you get into drafting on Underdog Best Ball, like you're going to be able to kind of judge and see how things are shaping up. And if you need to pivot, like to the Rams from the Vikings or something like that, you do it easily with confidence, because it's, like I said, it's a crapshoot. It's like any one of these teams can win. So we got Vikings versus the Lions. We just seen this matchup. Did the Lions win both games this season, Meg?
Yeah, they won earlier in the season too, right? Yeah. It was very close. The first meeting was very close, and Darnold did play better in that one, but yeah, no line. And so, I did the whole, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. Same would apply here. The same logic applies to this, because these are two very good teams. Yeah. Maybe, Vikings can make massive adjustments to how much pressure the Lions were bringing. And, Darnold did not respond well to that pressure. So, certainly I do think the Vikings are alive. I have been just like, wow, the Lions do feel like a team of destiny this year. They've withstood all these injuries, still, 15 too, and have the bye here, and obviously a fun team to root on as well. Potential to make their first Super Bowl and everything. So, maybe I'm letting that fall too much into my projection here, but I think it's hard to pass on the Lions here. Do think it'll be very difficult again to beat a team 3 times, but I do like the Lions to move on.
Yeah, I think I would like the Lions versus Minnesota. I think I'd like the Rams over the Lions. I think the Rams would, with their experience, like a less shaky quarterback situation. Nothing against Sam Darnold, because obviously he had a huge year, but just with Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback coming into a familiar situation against the Lions, who knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And I think last year was pretty close.
Yeah, that was a close game. Yeah. It started out like super fireworks, kind of slowed down in the second half. Can't remember the final score, but it ended up close for sure. And then these two teams, another week 1 matchup. This went to overtime on Sunday Night Football, week 1, and the Lions won in overtime. So I think it would have been, if it were to be Rams, Lions would be very close too.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially like you mentioned, like they went to overtime in that game. Puka Nacua went out in that game. He got hurt. And also in that game, like Cooper Kupp went off. Like that dude had a monster game. He had like he
had like 20 targets, didn't he? Or like
ridiculous amount of receptions. Yeah. Like, so if they do face off against each other, if the Rams do make it to the to that next round, the Lions have also been super vulnerable against slot receivers. They've carried that on throughout the season. They're probably the worst team against slot receivers, and that set up Cooper Kupp going very late in these drafts. And people are writing him off, but if you put him in that matchup against the Lions again, I think he could definitely do some damage similar to what he did, maybe not to the extent of like 13 receptions or whatever, 20 targets. But we'd have Puka Nacua competing for those targets in this game, but definitely susceptible in the slot. And on the slot, we got Justin Jefferson's running a lot of his routes in the slot, I believe. So Justin Jefferson would be a huge, potentially part of this game. We didn't really see it. Actually, you know what? No, that dude, that's the cornerback on Detroit, played against Jefferson in high school. So he's got some shower narrative going on there, where he was able to just dominate him in that game. So maybe Justin Jefferson would get shut down again by this guy,
That was wild. Yeah, I couldn't believe how much they held down. Well, obviously Darnold and the entire passing game, but Jefferson included.
Yeah. So, I mean, that'd be an interesting matchup to see what happens in this third matchup after they have time to look at the tape and adjust to this banged up Lions defense, and maybe get Darnold some help. Like in this one with the offensive line or whatever, just to figure out a way to get him under less duress in the next game.
Yeah.
But so we got the Eagles versus the Bucks in this next game. I'm sticking with the Eagles in this one against the Bucks. Although, like I said, I have a lot of exposure to the Bucks. I have a lot of exposure to the Eagles. I really don't care who wins this game. As an Eagles fan, I'd like to see the Eagles win, but from my money situation, I don't care who wins this game. I think I'd almost rather see the Bucks win, because they've been a lot easier team to stack. But who would you go with in this game, Meg?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more likely the Eagles win, but the Bucks have certainly played the Eagles tough the last few years. They're the ones that knocked out the Eagles last year. So yeah, I think it would be a tough matchup for the Eagles if this were to be the divisional round matchup that they face. But I still agree with you that the Eagles would move on.
Yeah. So I know we're talking about like it being volatile and we're getting all the ones and twos in here, but like I think that when you're drafting your teams, even if you're mapping out like ones versus twos, like if you don't get those ones and twos, you got nothing to worry about, like especially on the NFC side, because there's plenty of teams that have more than a fighting chance of getting it to all the way to the Super Bowl. Bucks, Vikings, and Rams included. Even the Commanders could could make a run here. Like, so we got like all sorts of teams that you can draft at stack at cheap values in the NFC. Meg, if we're looking at the rematch of the Bills and the Chiefs, who do you like in this one?
I mean, again, I think the Chiefs are more susceptible this year. I don't think the defense is quite as elite as it was last year. So I do think this could be Josh Allen's time to finally make it all the way. But again, I don't know if I have a bias there. That, I mean, again, we just saw like 8 times that they should have lost even bad teams to average teams. So yeah, I just don't know that you can keep getting away with that. So I'll go Bills.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Like, we got Eagles versus Lions. I would lean Eagles in this one just because I think, the offense will be able to handle that banged up Lions defense, and then the Lions will be facing one of the toughest defenses in the league. But like, what do you think here, Meg? We'll go with your pick.
No, well, I think we should go Eagles. It's your team, and that you're bullish on them. I mean, I am incredibly bullish on the Lions this year. When I get the opportunity, and you do need to kind of have the right draft slots. We talked about, if you have the 1 spot, you usually go Allen. If you have the 2 spot, you go Lamar Jackson. If I'm having anywhere from 4, 5, 6, I try to stack up the Lions there and then just try to make it work to cover myself for the wild card round.
Yeah.
So I do get a ton of Lions exposure. I am very bullish on the Lions to make it all the way, but let's go Eagles in this one.
Okay. And I will say, like, even as an Eagles fan, like it wouldn't be too devastating to see the Lions win just because I like Dan Campbell. He had me at kneecaps, so
yeah,
I've been a fan of his since day one, and I've liked the what I've seen out of the Lions the last few years. So like, it doesn't really matter who wins the Super Bowl, but like, who would you think at this point? At this point, if we're drafting, like the Bills versus the Eagles, we're good to go with our playoff best ball lineups. But just for shits and giggles, who do you think would win the Super Bowl out of these two?
Oh God, that's tough. I mean, like you said, Eagles are one of the best defenses in the league. Then going through against one of the, a quarterback that sometimes feels matchup proof, so this is tough. I'll go with the experience that the Eagles win because they were there before 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think I'd go that way too. Oh, look, they even give us a graphic for it. All right. So the Eagles are
that's appropriate for you. Get a little Eagles winner here.
There we go. All right. So let's move on to Underdog now.
Sounds good.
Make sure to use the promo code SEEK, SEEK. You'll get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000 on your first deposit for new depositors. And I've been drafting a ton of best ball lineups, Meg, and we're gonna jump in together to draft the Gauntlet team. I'm gonna do it on my phone because I hate doing it on the desktop. We got 3 more to start. Now let me see if I can actually find it in here. There we go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I always do it on my phone. It's easier than
it's so much easier. Yeah. Do you do your screen share though? Like on
Yeah.
All right. So it's be interesting to see. Oh, it's already full. Oh wait, we got the 1 pick, so we get to do our Bills.
I was gonna say it fits into the Super Bowl projections here.
All right, here we go. Let's see. Okay, so Meg and I have already talked about we think the Bills will make it to the Super Bowl to face off against the Eagles, and this 1 spot is a really good spot to kind of build that scenario. What time of day do you like to draft in, Meg? What time of day are you finding that you're getting the softest rooms or getting at least the people that understand, like you're trying to build stacks and stuff, and they're focused on building stacks and not so much worried about having guys drafting like 6 different teams on their
just an all-star team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've noticed a difference of like any edge time difference. I typically draft at night, a night owl, so I typically draft at night.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, so we got Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson has consistently been going at number 2, and Jalen Hurts. So this is pretty standard. One thing that I've been doing, if I've get the 4 pick or the 5 pick. I try to draft. I'm trying to draft Gibbs in that 4th spot.
Same.
I mean, that's the ADP of him anyways. If you
Right.
get Gibbs in that 4th spot, when it comes back to you, there's a good chance that either Mahomes or Goff will still be on the board. So that way you can make sure you're getting one of those quarterbacks that you think is going to make it, pretty far in these playoffs.
Yeah, no, I've again been trying to get a lot of Lion stacks, so I've tried, but every now and then the 5th or 6th person will be able to get like a Monra off or something like that. To your point, then usually Mahomes comes back if that's the case. But so yeah, but I take a ton of Gibbs too. Are you able to pull up the board?
Yeah. Do you see it? Oh shoot, I'm not even sharing it. Here we go. My bad. Thanks for
okay. Now, no problem.
So
okay, so they went Saquon, Gibbs, Henry, and then Mahomes, and then Goff went back to the 4th spot. Oh no, they went to the Saquon drafter. Okay. They went double. They might have been trying to push Goff to go to another round. I've seen one guy successfully do that. One person, whoever, I was like, how? And it worked. They pushed. I think they pushed Goff to like the 3rd or 4th round, and I've never seen that happen. Anytime I try to even push them from like 4 to 9, it doesn't work. So, this person may have been trying to push it, but it didn't work either.
So we're gonna actually get James Cook here.
Nice.
I like Jefferson here.
What
do you think?
Well,
Jefferson.
That's the most elite on the board, right?
Kind
of NFC stack on the board.
Okay, so we can pull off. Jefferson has not been falling to me with Allen, so I don't have a lot of Vikings.
Yeah, that's a good combo.
Yeah, Vikings Bills stacks. So
because the way we projected it, you're getting at least 2 games of Jefferson, and then if an upset happens, potentially more.
Yep, exactly. And if we get a different outcome in that Lions game where, like maybe Jefferson's able to take advantage of that weak slot matchup against Detroit, then we would have a much different situation and potential for, the Vikings to get, pretty far in the. Now, one thing I like about the Bills too, Meg, is as far as the pass catchers, you're able to get them pretty late. So except for like Shakir, at least, like you're able to get these pass catchers pretty late. So it gives you opportunity to stack even more, teams if you want to. If we had a secondary team here, let me see if I can get back to the secondary team here. I like to go with, well, obviously the Rams are facing the Vikings.
Right.
So maybe we do a secondary team with Tampa Bay potentially. What would you think of that?
I think, again, I wouldn't mind trying to get either obviously Eagles or Lions, because I think that's the next most likely to, but they go so early. So since we've already invested this, and again, to get the combo with Jefferson is awesome. So I think Bucks is a value, is a stack here that you can, get potentially Bucky and Evans.
I think so too. Like, so with the situation here, like I'm looking at Aaron Jones or Mike Evans. If we take Jones, obviously we stick with our stack. I actually, you know what? We got Addison too. So I want to put Addison in the queue because I want to get that double stack.
Yeah.
Do you think we should take Jones or do you think we should take Evans?
I'd say Evans to get another stack and then hope that you can get,
Yeah, I like that too. So I'm going to go with Addison as the next pick. So we got our double stack.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the board.
So that way it's like 2 strong, real super strong options. You have Jefferson and Evans, like literally absolutely elite alpha receivers, and then backing it up with Addison. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Like this is actually working out pretty well. So it seems like people are kind of sticking with their teams, like that they're trying to stack, which is good for us because we have right now Josh Allen, James Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison. So we got our stack of Josh Allen the Bills and the Vikings, and we're starting to put together a Bucks stack too. If Aaron Jones falls back to us in this next pick, I'm going to grab him. I think that's kind of a no-brainer there. What do you think there, Meg?
Yeah, I like that. And then is Bucky Irving still on the board?
Now, unfortunately, somebody grabbed him. He's
he's been going earlier.
Yeah.
I think it could also be the matchup he has this week. I mean, because that's a tough thing. I was looking back at my results last year, and I got a lot of dead teams through because I stacked up Dallas, and Dallas scored a ton of points in that matchup to the Green Bay, playing from behind and still losing, but they scored a ton of points. It pushed some dead teams through. But win or lose, I think most likely win. Bucky Irving has an excellent matchup against Washington this week, I hate to say. So that could be a part of it too.
Yeah, I was fortunate to get enough Bucky Irving in the early stages of this drafting, when
he was going much later when it wasn't sure if Tampa was even going to represent the NFC South.
Yeah, he was going probably in the 50s or something like that.
Yeah,
so it was very easy to draft him. Someone just took Cooper. I was hoping he would fall to us. I'm going to look and see. We got Kincaid still, so I'm going to put him in the queue along with Aaron Jones. We're one pick away, and he already has a running back, so we might be in a spot here. He's the one who took Bucky Irving, the guy.
Oh, he got Bucky. Okay.
Guy drafting now.
Well, he's kind of doing the same thing. He's got the AFC with the Ravens and then backing it up with NFC, so that makes sense.
Do you like Keon Coleman or do you like Dalton Kincaid more?
I like Keon Coleman, especially on a touchdown hunting site. Yeah. He's just been much more explosive than Kincaid this season.
Cool. I'm going for
That's
Keon
great that you're able to get, that third Buffalo piece. I was going to say the nice thing about Buffalo, because Allen soaks up so much of the fantasy points, and then James Cook, obviously you want that running back position from the Super Bowl team you're stacking up. If you can achieve that, like you said, you can kind of wait on Buffalo a little bit. I mean, I have taken Shakir with Allen too, but I kind of like my teams better doing what we're doing. Not getting Shakir, getting other absolute stud, amazing like stud receivers or stud players from the NFC, and then waiting and getting like a Keon Coleman. And then I don't mind taking like a fourth piece super late, like a Mac Hollins or a Dawson Knox or something like that, because again, I just don't want to spend a lot of firepower up top on Buffalo because it's feels so top heavy with Allen and Cook. And
it's so spread out too with with their receivers. Like any guy could, like,
you don't know who
Samuel could have a freaking game,
Right, exactly. You could draft him with your last pick and you don't know. So I would play the last pick is like whatever Buffalo, whatever receiver you want to pick, or play it that way. So I like what we've done so far.
Yeah, I think so too. We're 6 picks away. I got Dalton Kincaid and I got Jalen McMillan in my queue.
Oh, nice.
Let me take a look over here, Meg, and see if there's any other guys that you like. Kyron Williams surprisingly still on the board, but we've got that Minnesota stack. One thing that I might put Darnold in the queue too.
When you have it stacked up this much,
just to have him just in case.
I'm surprised he's still there.
Yeah, we got Hawkinson too, so we got a lot of our guys still in there.
Yeah, that's surprising.
So,
what pick number are you coming up at? 46, 47?
Yeah, looking at the 8th round, and we're pick 48.
Okay.
So we got, for our quarterback, Josh Allen, running backs, James Cook and Aaron Jones. We got Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, and Keon Coleman. Now, with that Marshawn Lattimore matchup, I like going Jalen McMillan because I think Jalen McMillan is going to pick up the slack there. Someone just took Kincaid. Don't mind that. Like we got a bill already. So I'm not too broken up by it, but let's grab McMillan.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And then
who are you thinking of?
Who do you like between Hawkinson and Darnold? Who do you think we should go with there? Darnold has an ADP of 36.8, and
I mean, it does give you optionality then, like throughout to pop through. But I mean, I think it's unlikely that Darnold outscores Allen. So if you wanted to have another firepower piece, I'll leave it up to you. But
let's go with Hawkinson.
Yeah,
I think you're right there. I think that's what you were saying, right, Meg?
Yeah, that it's
board.
unlikely because Darnold doesn't run and Allen does. It's unlikely
Right.
that he's going to outscore him, even if they, were pushing that Vikings through. So I like the optionality, but like when it comes down to it, I'm fine just rolling with just Allen.
Yeah, and this is,
And that's pretty much what I do with Allen and Lamar and Hurts. I don't know. Do you usually go one quarterback with the three of them, or do you typically do two?
No, I've been going one, like same as you. Like it's just, with those guys like you're talking about, the only one I've been kind of doubling up on maybe is Hurts, just because I'm unsure about his
Will he
health.
run as much and everything?
Yeah, exactly. And like Barkley, at this point, he's probably going to have a bigger wild card round, and in that situation, if Hurts does not score enough to get us a high score in the quarterback category, then I need to make that up, and that's where I'm typically looking at. Now Baker Mayfield, I wouldn't mind stacking Baker Mayfield along with Josh Allen, just because Baker's been a guy that can outscore Josh Allen. He's still on the board.
If he's still there, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
Okay, so we got Baker. As far as receivers, I'm trying to scan through and see if there's anyone worth drafting. We'd have. I'm not even seeing Quentin Johnson on the board. So we're looking at it. You know what? Jalen Naylor might be interesting. If we wanted a differentiator in the Super Bowl, Jalen Naylor would be a differentiator. It wouldn't. We could.
Do you still have the Baker Darnold option or no?
Yeah, Baker Darnold are both there. But who do you like between Baker, Darnold, and Naylor?
I would probably say Baker, but I'll let you decide.
Yep, I like Baker. Okay, good. So we got that was probably the easiest draft I've been in.
I was gonna say, there wasn't that many like sweats, like, oh my gosh, we got to pivot, that kind of stuff. You're right. That was one of the least sweaty, stressful ones.
So we got Josh Allen, we got Cook and Jones. We got Jefferson, Evans, Addison, Keon Coleman, Jalen McMillan, and Hawkinson. So we
it's just not showing, and you have Baker too. Then to like give you optionality. Yeah, no, I like that a ton.
Weird, like Baker's not showing on there yet.
I think just refresh. Maybe.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, you're right. Let me refresh that. See, you probably have to go to my
the
drafts page. Yeah. But let's see. I accidentally drafted a bigger midden. Like I was trying to draft a big midden. Oh man, like I'll show you my team.
I was gonna say we gotta see the team.
Ended up with Hurts, and this is what I was talking about. I drafted.
Yeah.
Okay, so little pre-story about this. I drafted it at like 1:00 in the morning when I was tired.
Yeah.
And I wanted to draft a big mitten and do the $100 one. And, like I drafted this one instead. And you can see my team's a mess. You can tell I drafted it at like 1 a.m, but I got with Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson. I think I was getting sniped left and right in this one too.
It's hard with the Eagles go quick. So that's tough when that's the one thing stacking the Eagles. It's kind of the opposite of like the Bills situation. There's not really any available late options.
Right. And you can tell like, I don't have really any like AFC exposure, which is stupid. Like you're supposed to like as opposed to drafting all these different NFC teams, you want to draft, like an NFC team and then like a couple AFC teams or vice versa. Well, in this one, I just kept drafting NFC for some reason. I looked at it in the morning. I was like, what the hell did I do? Like what the hell was this? And
I mean, it's got a ton of firepower though for the wild card round. So I think you can totally get your money back here.
Yeah, I'm just hoping for my money back in this one.
It's got a ton of firepower week
one. Yeah. That's the only happiness I have with that draft. But like the one we just did, you can see I got Allen and I got Baker. We got Cooper. We got Cook and Jones. We got Jefferson, Evans, Addison, Coleman, McMillan, and Hawkinson. So we got nice exposure.
like that.
To Minnesota. We got nice exposure to Tampa Bay. We don't have a lot of like a hodgepodge of teams. We didn't have to go there because we didn't get sniped. So we were able to stay in our lane and grab the teams that we wanted. So I like that.
Yeah, if it's Bills versus Vikings or Bucks, this team is a beauty.
Yeah, for sure. We'd be in good shape.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any bye week teams here.
Nope, no bye week teams.
So that leaves you a lot of options, especially to get through.
Like one thing, like strategy wise, when you're drafting these teams, you want to be conscious of putting a full team into the Super Bowl. So we can do a check here. We got Allen as our quarterback. We have Cook as a running back. If the Bucks make it through, we got Evans, McMillan, and Keon Coleman. So we got our 3 there that we need. So we got a full team with Tampa Bay. As far as Buffalo versus Minnesota, we'd have Allen. We'd have Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Keon Coleman, and TJ Hawkinson. So either way, we have, that one extra player. We got Baker Mayfield, the extra player there. And then with the Vikings, we'd have Hawkinson.
You'd have both running
player.
Yeah, and you'd have both running backs.
Both running backs. We had a couple extra
Bills,
ones.
Vikings. Yeah. So you'd have a lot of live players if it was. Well, either way, you'd have optionality for quarterback in the Super Bowl if it was Bucks, and then if it was Vikings, you'd have more players, which is pretty powerful.
Yep. So good shape there. But Meg, so why don't you tell them again about the stuff you have coming up, subscriptions and your YouTube channel?
Yeah, absolutely. Check us out. Obviously you can find me at Megzo8DFS on Twitter. But check out Fanspeak Network on YouTube. And we will be doing a best ball draft on Thursday night, our best ball playoff draft Thursday night. We will have best ball content and best ball subscription and best ball content on Fanspeak Network starting when the big board launches. So we're very excited about that. We hope to keep a hot season this season rolling into next season. So we hope you join us.
And Meg is popping up left and right on my YouTube homepage. Whenever I turn my YouTube homepage on, she's on another one of these shows. What's the other shows that you're on regularly?
Oh, I'm on the CBS DFS, Fantasy Football Today DFS. So I'm on that every Thursday morning at 11. Every Thursday at 3, we do a prop show on the Fanspeak Network. So again, we're still doing sports betting content if you want to check that out. Everything that we do is on fanspeak.com. Check that on the homepage or Fanspeak Network on YouTube. But yeah, we do a prop show every Thursday talking through early look props, anytime touchdowns, potential parlays. So that'll be fun. We'll do that tomorrow afternoon as well.
Good stuff. Looking forward to that. And make sure to hit the like button. Give me the 30 likes so we can put out a shorter video later on. And make sure to hit the subscribe button. Looking for 1,600. You want to subscribe anyways because I throw these shows up randomly. And you want to sign up for the alerts for when these shows get posted, especially when we're heading into these wild card rounds, because I'll probably be doing, or at least trying to be doing, a showdown episode for each one of these games. And, you're going to be wanting to get the alerts when that comes out, probably coming out starting on Thursday if I can, but most likely Friday. So good luck, guys. Make sure to draft quickly in this gauntlet because it's almost filled, and you want to try to get some exposure for a fun sweat during the playoffs. And the best part is they do weekly payouts. So you're not waiting a whole freaking season to get paid. And use that promo code SEEK, SEEK, to get 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And good luck, guys.